when I moved to Savannah, it was in 1950. And I went to school in Chestnut Park. But I first met Henry's brother, Jimmy, and we played music. He liked to play music, so we started playing music. And then one time, it was 1968, he invited me down to Henry's in Thompson. Well, it wasn't Henry's, it was his house, but Henry was there and Mary. And then we met there, and we've been playing music ever since in 1968, 69.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So how old were you in '68?
69, I had to be around 20.
We still thought we was it. I can tell you that.
2 or 20. 23, I'll have to think. I was born in 38, so in 68 had to be in my 20s.
Yeah,
And
that's a long time.
now, it is. And
Did you ever have any falling outs during all
no,
that?
Not very many.
we didn't have any bad words.
Like
We might have
brothers.
had some feelings.
Mm-hmm. That's
No-
a long,
no
that's a
two
long
things.
relationship.
But there's not been a
Mm-hmm.
sour time in between the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll either give in or he'll give in if we do have a,
That's the way to
but
do it.
we haven't. And then our wives are good friends.
Ah,
And so it's been real
that's an amazing
blessing
friendship. Yeah.
for us because of the fact that we came from the same hometown.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
there's a lot of people in Savannah that lived in Beardstown, whole bunch of them.
They're foul people.
The Halls, the Nichols, the Bucks, and all kinds of their relation that came up. And there's quite a few people from that area. And Savannah and Beardstown are river towns.
I was going to ask you what.
And they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of taverns, a lot of gas stations, and a lot of fish markets. But that's how I remember Henry.
My whole family was commercial fishermen.
Wow.
So we fished all over the state of Illinois. We had lakes, my dad and them did, and when the fish got scared of us down there, we came up here. And that's what caused us to come up here. So when I got out of the Navy, the fishing was about done down home for really catching a lot of fish.
So the
so
fish
we-
just ran out?
Oh, we caught them out,
You
yeah.
caught them out,
Mhm.
yeah.
Really?
We caught them out because they came up with trammel nets and stuff. See, years ago, you either caught them by seine or hook nets, and that was all kind of periodic that you could do the seine, and certain times you could do the hook net, but trammel nets you could work
All the time?
all the time. So that's, and we come up we fished Clear Lake all the way over Des Moines and Nebraska, and all the way down Kentucky Lake. I mean, that's all we did was travel and fish. We were like gypsies.
And you were self-employed. I mean, you had to just
Right.
fish and then find people to sell them to.
I can still remember if I wanted to buy something, I better not owe you rent. I always figured, well, I'll go ahead and buy what I want tomorrow. I'll make enough to buy or pay for the rent. Well, a lot of times when tomorrow came, we still didn't have the rent.
Yeah, that's hard.
So
Back
it
in the
was
day,
tough.
though, it was poor back there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was during the war in Beardstown. They still didn't, all the town didn't have electric lights.
Wow.
And they were outside bath facilities. And so the outside toilets was the cream of the crop for the Halloweeners. And when we were growing up, it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I can remember of business was duck hunting for, killing ducks and selling them. And then once I did a tour in the Navy, and I was in charge of cleaning the mess decks and stuff for the officers. So I walk in one day and the guy says, "Swan, you from Beardstown, Illinois?" I said, "Yeah." And he pulls out this thing that says Black Marketeers. He said, "You know any of these?" And I looked at my mom, Dad, all my brothers, they had went in and bought the ducks.
Yeah.
And the federal agent showed them how to put corn in the nets. He helped them how to catch them and everything, and then they had a bust. Well, that's all that town knew,
Yeah.
They hunted and sold ducks or whatever they could. So it was something else.
That was rough.
And we didn't know any better. That was when they changed the law, like there was a limit of 15 ducks, they changed it to 8 ducks or something like that.
We didn't send out notices.
Well, we just didn't think it was right. Because, we didn't think that way. We've been able to do it all of our life, and we thought we still should be able to.
Exactly.
And here was another thing. My dad used to play fiddle, the old-fashioned barn dances and that, and his girlfriend was Henry's mom before his dad ever met her.
You could have been related.
Yes. And that goes way back.
He could have been my brother.
Yeah. Never know.
It worked out better this way.
Yeah, it worked out good this way.
The way we got to meet Marv, I never will forget it. One day, Gary went over to get Marv. Said Marv, he's a good singer, and said, we'll go over. So Gary told Marv, said, "I got this guy who can sing, but he's not very good on rhythm, and he'll jump time on you and stuff." I never will forget one day I was playing, and Marv says, "You're hitting the wrong string," or something like that. And I looked at him and I said, "What do you mean I'm hitting the wrong string?" He said, "You're hitting the G when you should be hitting the D," and I didn't know what he was talking about. So that's when I really got to where I could halfway keep time, was with Gary and them up at Mooney Hollow and stuff.
How did you meet Marv? Gary?
Oh, I met him quite a bit before Henry. Back in '61, I met Marv. And they were playing down on 4th Street in a band down there. And we was doing a little outside work, playing at grocery store openings and stuff. And I got a hold of Marv and said, "Why don't you come over and sing some songs for us?" And Marv came over, and a guy by the name of Ronnie Place that played guitar for Marv in his band, and Ron Shuey also. So I met Marv back in the day when everybody played music. We'd play at guys' houses and we'd get acquainted, and some of us played in bands. Back in that day, I never cared too much for country music.
Really?
No. And I played Dixieland. I played trombone in a Dixieland band.
Wow.
And that's how I got acquainted. But a guy by the name, and he knows him also, taught me guitar quite a bit, was George Willis. And he's a friend of both of ours. And George, we still get together every once in a while. He'll come up and I'll get Henry and we'll go up there on Walnut Street and pick a tune. And George and his wife can pretty good musicians.
Singers,
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
My wife's the one that taught me to start playing guitar. I never even knew how to chord one. And the first one she bought me was a Martin guitar. It was, and I still remember, it was $125, I think, a D15.
Wow. Had she grown up in a musical family?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, her family all played. And actually, though, the Fritzes on my mother's side all played. But
You didn't?
no, I sang a lot. I was a Hank Williams nut. But I never played guitar. I just sang, out in the boat, be going down the river, singing at the top of my voice and stuff. And so But then when I got married, well, their family would get together and sing, and then when I came home, well, I found out my Uncle Jim and them all got together and played and sang.
Because I think it's so beautiful that people can play and sing, and that's what they do when they gather.
Yeah.
You know, that's
That
a
was
loss.
a big thing with Gary and us, is when we was younger and stuff, you know, we'd go over to each other's house and play and sing, and spend the whole evening.
yeah.
I started out playing in church mostly. That's all I grew up with. And my mother was a janitor of the church before she got her ministry credentials and educated.
That's right, your mother's a minister.
She was a minister.
Okay.
And she'd lay me on the altar. She says I was a bald-headed baby, never had a hair on my head, and one of these days I'm going to be in the same shape. But she says, I prayed over you and said, son, I prayed God would use you and give you a talent. And it's not that I'm that blessed with talent, but I do believe that those prayers helped motivate me in the right direction. And then when we meet guys like Marv and Henry and the rest of them, we just have a ball. We enjoy it. We'd just soon be playing at home in the basement, just the 2 or 3 of us. We have just as much fun as playing if there's 300 people watching us or more.
That's the point.
And
Well,
it's a great,
get a kick out. You think, man, I sound good when I did that. Then they play it back and you say, gosh, I'll never sing again.
that's usually what it
And you
is.
forget that tomorrow.
But George, he taught me how to play a guitar, and he come home one day, he says, say I met a guy that could play stuff like Chet Atkins. Well, at the time I wasn't that crazy about guitar anyway. And I said, I never did like him. I wouldn't want to play a guitar like that. And he says, oh, you got to learn this, Gary. And he done a little bit. It wasn't exactly Chet Atkins style, but it was like this. Man, I fell in love with the first time I heard it, I'll see you in my dreams. And I
I
thought,
love that song
oh,
yet.
I says, I wish I could do that. And I practice and practice. You got to take the thumb and the fingers. You know, it's what they call finger picking or thumb picking. And that's really big now. It's coming back big.
Interesting.
But it's just a style.
How does that song go? Can you give me a line?
I'll see you in my dreams. I know by music.
I just know how to play it, but
Okay.
I couldn't sing it. I never did sing too much.
So did he become one of your favorites?
Chet Atkins? Oh yes, him and Merle Travis, Ike Iversley. And I just got to see Doc Watson the year before he died out in D.C. in concert. Doc Watson can pick finger, but he's a flat picker. But I got to see him in concert. And of course he played with Chet Atkins, Merle Travis, and all of the older ones. But there's a lot of them playing now, that style. And I hope it never dies because it is unique.
Yeah. And you,
I always loved Hank Williams, and I would trade. You know, like when Johnny Cash on, he was my favorite. Buck Owens, George Jones, he was my favorite. But I heard a song one day, and I thought it was Lefty Gazelle, and it was Merle Haggard. And from that day on, that's all I ever wanted to do is hear Merle Haggard sing.
wow, what was the song?
It was All My Friends Are Gonna Be Strangers. Yeah. And I said, well, I looked at Mary and I said, ha, by golly, old Lefty finally got a hit, you know. It was back in the 60s, I think. And then it come on and said Merle Haggard, #1 or something like that, a song. And when I come back home out of the Navy, I had all of his, and I'd tell everybody and that we go in a place, you know, and they'd be singing, I'd get up and I'd sing a song. I'd say, this guy here is going to be the best singer ever.
Wow.
And that was back in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was pretty well right, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I seen him, Merle Haggard, in Freeport, Illinois, at the Masonic Hall, and he had just recorded "Made It Big" with Okie from Muskogee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he had some of the best picking and steel guitar playing that I ever heard. And he was my favorite too, so Henry and I sure agreed on
And I think probably Marv's favorite, too. There's so many guys that really went with Merle Haggard when he came. And the strange thing, all them guys started with Buck Owens pretty near.
What do you think was the thing that spoke to you? I mean, that
It just, country music's just in you when it ain't nothing can just put, it's there. You know, as a kid, that's what we heard. And I grew up with Ray Price, Webb Pierce, Carl Smith. And I can remember coming down our stairs and I'd be singing one of Webb Pierce. My mom would say, "Oh, here comes my little Webb Pierce," you know. And so that's, and then I
the
had,
water you swam in.
yeah. But I got a sister that when she was young could sing as good as anybody. That she was really good, and she knew all the songs. And she wasn't like me. She knew them and knew them right. I always made up the words, and when I heard the song the first time, I thought, "Man, I never heard that song before."
And Mary and Henry sang a good song together too. One of my favorites.
Me and Gary and Mary did about 6 shows. And we had a lot of offers to go to taverns and play, but we couldn't go. You know, you can't take a preacher to the tavern, tarnish
Oh,
him.
that would be a problem.
That was. We'd have people come up and say, "Could we get your number?" And say, "Well, we don't play in taverns, you know."
So, did you sing and play in church too?
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
play every Sunday in church.
Yeah.
I get Henry too. Every Tuesday night we play music at our prayer meeting.
Still.
Yeah,
Really?
still do.
Whoa, beautiful.
Yep.
Mary gets up and she's a little showboat. She loves she worked at the nursing home for years as an activity director. And that rubs off when, you know, you got a lot of 75-year-old people or something like that. And that's what, and she loves old people. So she did that for a long time.
That's beautiful.
So
We enjoy it. You know, church people.
I think I sent you a CD of Mary and us.
I have CDs of you and Mary and your daughter
Yeah,
too, and I have CDs of the 3 of you.
right. I think I sent you some.
And Mr. Manning,
He's probably online buying and selling.
are you online?
No,
You want to come in here and counter some of these lies?
That's one thing.
well, they're probably doing a pretty good job.
They're doing a great job.
I can.
Especially this guy.
Well, I knew him
gotta watch
since
him.
61. The reason I can tell what year it was, I always had new cars back in the day. And I can remember what car I was driving.
And I thought you was riding a bicycle.
No, I just pretended.
I never will forget the first day I met Marv was we went down to your trailer and you'd made a little CD of what the heck was that song that the only one you had out.
Lonesome.
Lonesome
77203.
Yeah. Well, some 77203.
How does that go, Mark? Start. Lonesome.
77203. I'm not gonna sing it
Oh,
for
you're
you.
not gonna sing it. You're not gonna sing it. The one I liked was the carpet.
On the floor.
Yeah.
I always hate it when I don't know why that song was always hard for me to follow.
What other one was on that record you did?
Big shoes.
Big Shoes.
Yeah,
Big shoes.
the Phil and, yeah. Well, I might not put him on all of them, you know, I might have cut him out of some of them.
I remember you and Ronnie Pleisch, after you made that record, and I went around and got Ronnie some plays on the radio. WCCI was just starting, and over in Sterling, and Ronnie played shuffling guitar. Remember that
Oh, yeah.
on there?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I could drive down the road in the car and turn on the country music, and there I was singing to myself.
That'd be pretty,
That gives you a good feeling.
Feeling,
Ronnie
yeah.
enjoyed that too. Ronnie's probably one of the best guitar players that I really know.
Another good part about that makes you feel kind of good is this one here. He missed out on it, but we could go to Monmouth or Baldwin or anywhere in Macocata into the Guidons and go up to the jukebox, and there it was.
Amazing,
You could play it on the jukebox.
amazing, yeah.
It's an experience. It's different. I mean, we just done it, you know, just be doing something, but it turned out really
Yeah.
pretty good.
And then all the people that started coming,
Mhm.
I mean, that was what was amazing to me.
Mhm.
well, I think that when, there wasn't nobody at that time coming, but at one time, our band was as good as when we had the steel guitar player and Gary, and we had a good band, but nobody was really traveling because the beer was, you know, you couldn't drink and drive, and everybody was, it was kind of hard, and they could see all the big stars on TV.
And line dancing, line
Line
dancing
dancing,
was trying to come in, and that just screwed up everything
yeah.
as far as the country.
And I never did really know how to play with singing and doing songs that you could dance to. I more or less wanted the people to listen.
Exactly.
And there's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And I never did know that. And one time I told Marv, I said, "Well, you big idiot, you should have told us, you know, when we was playing, let's do it this way."
There's another thing about this one. He can be sitting out there singing, playing, just jamming, having a ball. 2 or 3 people over there running off the mouth about whatever, it gets under his skin.
You tell me, you stop.
I used to tell my sisters, go in the other room. And they say, "Well, we'll listen." I say, "If you're going to talk, go in the other room. I don't want, you know."
And he's right, because it does, you know,
It
you're up
bothered
there playing and singing for someone to listen to,
It feels
and they're
rude.
ignoring you over there talking about some kind of a quilt they made, or they're crocheting a pillow over.
But usually
I
when
think
you
all
have
3 of
eats-
us was like that, though.
Usually when you have eats or treats or something, conversation
Goes.
evolves.
Yep,
And
yeah, it
it
does.
just ruins.
But I never knew when Marv Nuss was playing, I never really understood the fact that songs that you dance to doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to listen,
I know.
you know, and there's a difference. If you're playing in the bars and stuff, they're wanting to dance. They don't care what you sound like,
Yeah.
you know, they wanting to dance.
That's why the jams felt so special,
You
you
know.
know, because people came to listen. They
Right.
really did, and talk in between or have the food during the break, but they
We had
really,
some good times. through
It
the
was
year.
really nice when we was up at Moody and would have them people come, because if the talkers was in there, they were to the back usually. But I'm unlucky. If I go somewhere and they're having a thing and you get up to sing and stuff, you always got one right in front of you. Always right in front of you. And usually one of them's my sister. And I'll look at her and I say, get that and then get out of here.